everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I am John Webster. My sidekick, Gary Graves, unfortunately can't be here right now. He's on assignment in regards to horse racing. Gary, can't wait to hear more about that when you get back on the show. Let me introduce my other sidekick and the traffic cop, John Pitt. How you doing?
Hey man, we got a special episode today. The co-host of one of my favorite podcasts out there. Who are we talking about, John?
Hey man, you know what, Pitt? You should have finished the introduction, man. You got 3/4 there, and then you just stopped, man. Come on, now you got to cross the finish line. But let me help you out here. A dear friend for both of us, co-host for No Crying in Baseball, also the play-by-play announcer for the Silver Spring Tacoma Thunderbolts, the one and only Patti Mallin. Patti, welcome to the Daily Deuce.
I am so happy to be here, my friends. Finally, we made it happen.
Hey, I am so happy. I know we've been talking about it, and you look at me with your eyes going through your head like, okay, John. Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it.
Pick a date, John.
Well, today is the day. It's great. One of the greatest baseball minds that I know. And I am so excited to be talking to you today, Patti. My goodness. Let me even start off. What got you interested in baseball?
Man, I'm a Cleveland girl. Okay, so
Okay.
like the phrase "we'll get them next year" was kind of invented for people like me. It's like, you know what? That's how you know you're a true baseball fan, when you stick with it, when your team is not there, it's not there, it's going to get there one day. Yeah, so I grew up a fan of the Cleveland team. And in fact, my family used to have family reunions at the what we called the new ballpark, the Jake, when it was built, now Progressive Field. That got our whole family to start coming back home from being all over the place. And so that was a lot of fun too. My late husband was played hot corner. I gave birth to a kid who played hot corner. I mean, I got to think. Name my child after Camden Yards. I mean, it's all the way in. It's all the way in.
I did not know your late husband played third base. Really?
He did. I mean, recreationally, but still.
That's fine. That's fine.
When we would go work out, they would say, "What are your goals?" He's like, "Bat speed." I'm like, "Okay, you don't do this for a living." I know, but bat speed.
And Cam played third base too?
Cam played third base too, man. We got a whole thing. Yeah, we were really worried. When you name a kid after a ballpark, like, what if they don't like the sport? And turned out okay. But boy, we're a little nervous for a little while there until that kid threw a snowball at a target across the street. Like, oh, you hit that puppy and you're a tiny person. All right, you're in.
Well, what do you do at times like this? You're from Cleveland. I know you love the Orioles. We talk about the Orioles every day. Right now, Cleveland is in Baltimore. Who are you rooting for?
I'm rooting for Baltimore, and that was tough for me. I went to the game yesterday. I went to the game, and this year was the year that I really made that call. It was like, oh, and Cleveland's like my number 2 team. They really are. I mean, I believe you can root for a bunch of teams. It's okay that you don't just pick one. It's fine. But then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm in. I'm all Baltimore all the time. And I like watching Cleveland play. They got a lot of guys that I really enjoy. I think they're terrific players. So it's fun to go. I think part of the fun of having the podcast is learning about more players than are just your local team. So I can watch any ball game and say, oh, I know about you. You're really fun to watch. And so I pay a lot of attention to Cleveland. So when I got Stephen Kwan and Miles Straw and Jose Ramirez and all these guys coming in, I'm like, okay, it's fun to watch you. I want you to do really well, but not that well. And unfortunately, yesterday it didn't turn out. But I could say one of my teams won, but that's cheating a little bit.
I'm right with you. Yesterday was not a really wonderful day for the Orioles.
Yeah.
I was saving this for the end, but you've already led me into it, Patti. So let's talk about these Orioles. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, my opinion. I want yours. You know what I think about the pitching, both starting and relieving. A prime example happened in the sixth inning yesterday when a Mr. Perez came in the game.
Man, Perez did not have it. He just did not have it. They got him out of there as fast as they possibly could. At least they did that. At least they acted on it. But boy, it was the same thing with Grayson Rodriguez. I had a lot of hope for him. I mean, I saw him play for the Bay Sox, the Double-A team, and Adley Rutschman was catching for him, and I saw him throw a pitch so hard it went through Rutschman's glove. It broke the webbing on his glove. I'm like, okay, this guy, I can't wait till he comes up. And now he's up. It's like, okay, you're really great for 3 innings, and then. So yeah, so I'm with you in we got to shore up the pitchers. So what did we do today? We lost Cedric Mullins, an outfielder, for 10-day IL at least. We brought in Aaron Hicks. Did you see that? We picked up Aaron Hicks that got DFA'd by the Yankees. So instead of a pitcher, we got an outfielder. I think we would have been okay in the outfield. I think we got enough guys that we could call up and be okay in the outfield. But there you go.
I think their concern is you brought Hicks up because they don't really want to do a lot of reshuffling, I don't think, because with Mullins out, you potentially have to move Hayes to center because that becomes your best outfielder. Now you need a left fielder, so McKenna off the bench or Vavra off the bench.
Bring Stowers back up.
You just bring Stowers back up, see if he can get his swing going again. It's a rough thing. And I think also with them, you don't have a true number one. I think Grayson Rodriguez, I'm still riding with him.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Gas him up.
he is going to be a very good major league pitcher. It's going to take some time. He's going to have growing pains, which is what he's having now. But I think what would help them is if they had a true number one ace, and they don't have it. They don't have it.
We need Means back, man. We need Means back. We need him now, but we don't. So no, they hit a slump. I'm not dismayed. I'm disappointed that the last 2 games I went to were, in the slump. So I saw them lose twice in a row, which doesn't make me happy when I'm there in person, but they're going to be okay. They're going to be, I'm more worried about like Gunnar Henderson, who's like everybody's pick for rookie of the year at the beginning of the season. I think he's way too much in his head. I think he comes up at bat in these high pressure situations. And I think he overthinks it and he can't do what he's good at. Right. So I want him to like chill. I want him to relax into it and get the bat going again. Like he was great at the end of the season. I think we just need to tweak a little bit around the edges and it's going to be okay. I want the Rays to hit a skid. If the Rays could also hit a skid right now, I'd be okay.
Will they ever hit a skid? I mean, they are just playing unbelievable. I mean,
scary good.
I think they lost yesterday.
They did
to a one hitter, but the O's didn't help themselves. They lost too. So,
well, as we were losing by a lot yesterday, I think it was 5-0. I was saying, well, maybe Tampa Bay will also lose. So we got that one. That could have been worse. Unfortunately, Texas is doing. I say unfortunately about Texas doing well. I actually picked them on our podcast. They were my prediction to win the West, which was like total like random. There's no way they're going to win the West. Now they're great. So now they're number 2 in all of baseball right now. It was, the Rays, the O's, and then the Rangers. And now the O's and the Rangers switched, but we'll get it back. It's okay. It's a little slump. Everybody gets a little slump. Better to do it early, get it out of the way, and then kick it in gear again.
But you know what, Patty? At the beginning of the season, if somebody told you the Orioles would be 16 games above 500, would you have taken it?
Oh my gosh. I had them clawing their way into the wild card. I knew they would be good, but I didn't know they would be so surprisingly good this early. So I believed that this was going to be like, okay, here we're coming, watch out, here come the O's, but moderately, just build on last year, moderately claw your way into the wild card. We're there, man.
So tell me about it. The wild card, help me. If it stops today, and the season ends, they're in. Who would they be playing in the wild card? How would
man, I can't. I got to draw the picture. I got to draw the picture. I don't know. But here's the thing: like, as of a couple of days ago, all of the AL East was better than all of the AL Central. The O's record is better than the leaders of the AL Central and the AL West. So it's kind of. I get why they would still be a wild card because they're not winning a division right now. but their record is better than the winners, the current leaders in 2 other divisions. So I get a little antsy about that, but they're in the number 1 wild card position. I don't know, man. I'm confident. I'm confident the good things are gonna. This is short lived. This slump is short lived. I think Mullins. Wow, I can't say things out loud because I do believe in in baseball, not so much curses, but you say things and then they come back and bite you in the butt. So I'm not going to say, oh well, this is like the worst thing. But I think we're going to hit a turning point again. I think here we go. All right, we're switching around. Mullins is going to come back. The guys are going to rally because Mullins is out. They're like, hey, we got to do it for Mullins.
Mm-hmm. Patti, I hope you're right. I really do. Tonight would be a good start. Kyle Gibson is on the mound
Love
going
that.
against Cleveland Knight. He is, well, lack of a better term, that's the ace of the staff right now, to be honest with you. So I hope they can get it going tonight. I mean, Cleveland's a tough team. Terry Francona is a proven manager. He's done it in Boston. I don't have to tell you. I don't have to sell you on. That's a good program, even though they're 23 and 29, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. See, I actually picked them to. I'm going to say it out loud, go all the way, because they were on such a tear last year. They were the youngest team in the major leagues last year, and we're still tearing it up. So I had a lot of confidence in them. So I'm thinking they're going to come around again. I sound like a real Pollyanna, don't I? I'm like, oh, glass half full. But you gotta, right? I mean, if you get down on yourself about baseball, what's the fun in that?
Well, baseball that's why they play 162 games.
That's
You're
right.
going to have some dips, but you're going to also have some unbelievable highs. So I can't wait for the next high with the Orioles.
For sure.
I can't help but notice you have on a Baltimore shirt.
I do.
The new Baltimore shirt. You want to tell us about that? I think it is so super cool.
So it's the City Connect jersey. Nike has this contract with MLB to produce special uniforms for all the teams. They release about 6 a year that are supposed to sort of embody the feeling of the city. And some of the earlier ones would show like landmarks from the city. The Rockies is a good one. It actually has, the Rocky Mountains on it. The San Diego one is all beach colors, like things that make you really feel like the city. And we were talking about what's the Orioles one going to be. We're like, it's got to have like the Domino Sugar sign on it, it's got to have the warehouse on it, throw me a crab. I mean, something, right? And then on the outside, it turns out it's kind of a high concept thing. And I think it's going to get panned outside of Baltimore for people who don't get it. But that's kind of the point of the jersey. One of their taglines is, what is it? It's like, you can't see what you're not looking for. So if you button it all up, and it's a black jersey with white block letters that say Baltimore. The letters in Baltimore look a little time worn, like they've kind of worn out a little bit. They're a little lived in, they're industrial, they've worked hard. You flip a sleeve, or you roll up your sleeve and get to work, is how I like to see it. All of a sudden there's this bright colors, and you open a top button and these bright colors come out. It's got this you can't clip these wings patch on it, and the whole point is Baltimore is the neighborhoods. It's the people. It's not the industrial landscape that you see from 95 as you're cruising by it to get to New York. It's like a drive-by city. It's not. You get in the neighborhoods. You have culture. You have color. You have people. You have attitude. You have hope. You've got a lot of things. So it's kind of like an inside-out kind of jersey, and I dig that. If you don't pay attention to that, it's like, oh, they just gave you block letters on a black jersey. What's the point in that? So you got to dig a little deeper. I really like it. I like it, and I like the all black look when they wear the uniform.
So what is the plan? Are they going to wear these again this season? What's the plan?
Yeah, so when your team gets a City Connect jersey, you sort of pick a day every week or whatever that you're going to. So for the Orioles, it's Friday night home games.
Wow, okay.
They're going to wear the City Connect jerseys. I think the Nats. Do they do like Saturday home games? There's some. Yeah, and the same thing happened with the Nationals. They have the cherry blossom jersey, which again, people in DC get, and like the letters looked like the Washington Monument. They looked like the marble of like the monuments. And other folks like, why would you have pink flowers on a jersey? Well, that's because this really screams DC, right? And so, if you live here, you get it. And that's, I think, really who these are for. They're for the people who live in the city or really get the city. And I hope I'm one of those people that really gets Baltimore. Boy, do I love my new City Connect jersey. Yes, I did send my kid up with the credit card to the Orioles store the day they were released. So Cam could get the Mullins jersey and I could get my Richmond jersey. Day one, man. Day one.
That shows the commitment not only of you, but of Cam as well. Does
Heck
Cam
yeah.
have a jersey too?
Cam got Mullins.
You gotta love Cam. You gotta love
Sure.
Cam.
Yeah, he knows what's good. For sure.
No crying in baseball.
Yes,
That's your
sir.
podcast.
Yeah.
How long you been doing that?
We started it during the World Series in 2017, Dodgers versus Astros.
Why?
So
Why?
we've recorded the episode that dropped today on Tuesday is episode 293, plus a couple of little extra like interview episodes and stuff in between.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Why the podcast? Why no crying in baseball?
We say that every week. Why the podcast? I don't know.
But it's so neat. You and I feel like, well, you and I, we've been friends, 13,
for longer than the
14 years.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I feel like I have an invisible type friendship with Patti Mallin.
So many people do, really. Yes, so Patti Mallin is my co-host. That's not her actual name. I mean, she is from Boston, so it's kind of it could have been her name. I mean, that's why she is the potty mouth that she is. I actually nicknamed her Potty Mouth because we would go to a lot of baseball games together, and it would be my job to look around to see if there were young children nearby and warn her so she could dial it back, because Massachusetts sports fans, you know how it is, right? So also, she may or may not have a job that requires one to sign that little documents to say you're not going to embarrass yourself, say bad words or whatever on social media. So she's incognito. So it's Patti the Potty Mouth, not just for the alliteration. Yeah. So we all of the important televised sporting events that we care about are watched in the Potty Mouth basement because they have a big projector. So it's a whole wall size sporting event. And during a baseball game, a friend of ours who was starting a podcast business was laughing at us because we're both just yelling at the game. And he said, you guys are hilarious. You should have a podcast. Like, yelling at a game in progress is not at all the same thing as actually like having a conversation that talks about issues in baseball. I was like, I'll try it anyway. So we tried it anyway, and we've been doing it since 2017.
And what are some of the more interesting things you all have done on the podcast?
So we like to look at baseball as kind of a microcosm of the world. So we don't just say, here's somebody's stats, or this is the thing that happened this week that was a really great play or an amazing game or something. We talk about immigration issues, which are huge in baseball. We talk about a lot of social justice issues. We talk about equity, right? I mean, it's really expensive to play baseball as a kid to afford travel teams. So who is that excluding? We talk about women in baseball. We talk about a lot of things that you can kind of throw out into the wider world as important issues, but we just use baseball as the lens to talk about those things. So we kind of, people who say, oh, I don't really like baseball, but I kind of want to hear you. It's like, just give it a try. You may still not like baseball, but we have a look at it. We have a take on baseball that's not your usual. Here are the things that happened this week.
And I think that's part of the fun of your podcast. You take a different approach to it, and you also have so many, as you just shared, so many different subjects that you will intertwine into baseball, whether it be immigration, whether it be women in sports, what have you. And I think it's the beauty of what both of y'all do with No Crying in Baseball. I absolutely positively enjoy it. And from my standpoint, two women doing a podcast, I think is absolutely positively 2 thumbs up. And it's a beautiful thing. It is a really great thing. And I'm biased for you. You already know that. I look forward to the show, and I just think you all do a great job. What do y'all have coming up on your show this week?
So what did we talk about this week? Man, wow. So we did have a little fun. There were some position players that had some pitching escapades this week. We profile in the off season. We know we still do our show in the off season. So we each pick a player from every team and profile them over the course of the off season. And those are the guys that we use for our fantasy team. Our podcast has its own fantasy team, and we follow them a little bit more closely. So Luke Raley is my guy for the Rays.
Okay.
The Rays were losing badly to Toronto, once. And so he got called in as a pitcher, and he struck out Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on a 50-mile-an-hour curveball. And so Vladdy, of course, autographed a ball for him saying, "You got me," right? I mean, Luke Raley's an outfielder, right? Of course, the next inning, Vladdy hits a grand slam off of him. So you got to cut the story off sooner if you want like Luke to look really good at that. So we try to find like the quirky things to talk about too. We also talk about the rule changes a lot. We talk about sticky versus tacky. You know how there's a whole checking the pitchers for are they using illegal substances. There's no actual scale for how an umpire is going to touch your hands and say, "Oh, that's stickier than the other guy, so therefore you're out of here." It's like that's not a real thing. So we talk about that. We also did we have any we did have some we have a segment called Police Blotter, which this week focused on a couple of things. We focused on the Dodgers who last week uninvited a group to their Pride Night, and there was a big backlash, and then they re-invited them. So we kind of talked about that. It's like, what are the pros and cons of all of the things that you did about this? How do we fix all this? We talk. There was the 12U World Cup of baseball. Why is there a World Cup for kids that are 12 and under? That seems extreme, right? But there's a girl from Venezuela playing in that, the only girl in the entire tournament. So we talked about her. Just trying to growing the game and kind of highlighting where the game is being grown.
You realize you all are helping people gravitate to baseball. You realize you're making a difference, and you're doing it in a great way. Let me ask you this point. Your opinion.
Yeah.
The time clock. I call it the shot clock for lack of better time. What's your thoughts on that? How do you feel about it?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I like that. I like the faster game because your mind doesn't wander in between, right? I look around and people are way more focused on the field. They're not taking as much time to look at their phones because they've got like a minute and a half between pitches. They're watching. People are more engaged. I think it's happening faster. I think they're still trying to fix the rules around the edges. Like the umpire needs to be able to use their discretion every once in a while. It's like, okay, don't start the clock yet because this you can't. This just happened, right? Don't penalize this guy because of this thing that wasn't his fault. But I do like it. I like that you got to be ready. You got to be ready. And they had the pitch clock in the minor leagues last year, and I think they tried it out prior to that. So a lot of the pitchers that are coming up, and the batters too, are used to it. So it's really the veterans that are having to adjust to it more than anybody else.
Yeah, when I went to a couple games at Bowie last year with the Bay Sox and went with the Delmarva Shorebirds as well. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good for the game. The biggest culprit for slowing a game down, I'm going way back in history for you, Miss Patti Mallin.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that used to play for Cleveland.
Mike Hargrove, the human rain delay. Yes.
Fix the hands, the gloves.
Adjusting things that really don't need to be adjusted in public. Yeah, sure.
Oh, my God. And I'm not talking about every at bat. I mean, every pitch. He would just step out the batter's box. It was unbelievable.
I went to Cleveland when they hosted the All-Star game a couple years ago. I didn't go to the game, but I volunteered, right? And so you also got to do some of the things like around the edges. They interviewed Mike Hargrove because clearly, it's a Cleveland favorite. Somebody asked him to do his like little human rain delay, and he could still do it. He still did it. Everything, all the touch and all the rearranging. Yeah.
I mean, he was absolutely able to slow a game down. If the pitcher had momentum, it was going to stop when Hargrove came up because every at bat was at least 10 minutes. Every at bat. And the thing also with Hargrove, he was a very good hitter.
Yep.
Very good. So he's able to foul balls off and just keep that count alive. And can you? I mean, you lived it. You saw it. You saw how he could keep up. That's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20
Yep.
minutes, whatever needs to be done. He was just my goodness. But I thought I would throw that one out at you. A little history of Cleveland, just to show you. Even though I'm not a big fan, I'm an Orioles. I still know about Cleveland.
Sure enough, I believe in you.
Were you a big fan when they played in the World Series against what was that? The Marlins? Were
The
you a big fan?
Marlins. Yes, yes. Yes, of course. So so I have a thing against the Marlins. I do hold some sports grudges, but I have to refine them, right? So I've got a big grudge against Atlanta and a big grudge against the Marlins for, all of those things. But I like a lot of the players now on both of those teams. So I still say, oh, no, not that team. I hate that team because of things that happened in the 90s, right? Because I'm old. But it's like, oh, but yeah, I really like this guy. And I like Acuna Jr. He's awesome. I like this guy over here. All these guys. So yeah, I do hold the sports grudge.
You know, Cleveland back in the day put a halt to an Orioles playoff run. And that was when Davey Johnson was managing them. Mike Mussina was the ace. I think Cleveland had Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton.
I met Kenny Lofton at that All-Star game thing. Oh my God, that was so great. I was like, oh my God, Kenny. And I couldn't really say anything useful, but I was very excited to meet Kenny
What's
Lofton.
the guy's name? Bisquell played shortstop.
Oh, Marvis Kell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was an unbelievable team, but I really didn't need them to play as well as they did. It cost the Orioles the chance to go further. They were one of the few Oriole teams that led the division from first day of the season to 162.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice to relive? Let's try that again sometime. I mean, clearly not this year, but next year.
Right now, I just want to get these 4 games caught up right now.
Right? Me too. Me too.
What I haven't talked about, we haven't talked about the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And you doing play-by-play.
Okay, I got to correct you there. I'm actually the PA announcer. The
PA announcer? I'm sorry.
It's kind of a big deal because when you're at, me in front of a microphone, clearly I'm going to want to talk. And it's so hard to not do play-by-play when your job is to announce the next batter and what school he's from and what position he plays, to announce like the in-between inning stuff and the trivia contest. And it's a lot of fun stuff. But boy, I want to play-by-play, man. I want to talk about what he did at his last at bat. I want to oh boy, I sure do.
How did that come about? How did you end up becoming the public address announcer?
There you go. So I'm on the board of the Thunderbolts. That kind of came about because Camden worked for the Thunderbolts all through high school as an intern and then had one of the very few paid jobs as the assistant general manager. And so I rode his coattails onto the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts are part of the Cal Ripken Collegiate Summer Baseball League. So this is where college kids go to play, to be seen, to stay in shape. Maybe scouts will come and see them in the summer, right? So in the whatever, it's going to be the off season for school. And like the Cape Cod League is the famous one, on the East Coast, but the Cal Ripken League here is pretty darn good. It's 8 teams now, in the Delmarva area. And so I'm on the board, which means you do a little bit of everything. So the fun thing I get to do is the PA announcing. You might see me selling tickets at the front gate. Last Saturday, I was cleaning out a storage closet because it's a very glamorous job to work in baseball.
Now, can I get over there? Can you get me in if I come over there to a game? Can you get me in there?
I sure can, because when I work the front gate, I'll just charge you $6.
That's all I ask. Let me in. I'll pay.
It's really fun. You see some really good baseball. I mean, these are kids who are going to make it. I mean, like this opening day, there were a bunch of former players in this league. Gavin Sheets of the White Sox, James Outman of of the Dodgers is really lighting it up. He played for the Bethesda team in this league. Brandon Lau from the Rays. There's a bunch of guys that started out in these summer leagues who have made it. And actually, we're really proud. Matt Mervis played for the Thunderbolts in 2016. He just had his call up this month with the Cubs. So yeah, he debuted on May 5th. He went 1 for 4 and had an RBI. So yay, it's really fun to watch these guys, grow up and do good.
Wow. I got to get out there. I have to get out there. And the $6 is no problem. Just get me in.
Are you good for it? Okay.
I'm good for it. I am good for it. I'm going to try to drag my good buddy, John Pitt, out there with me. And
I think that would be fun.
Enjoy. I just look forward to it. I look forward to it.
We would be happy to see you in the audience.
Here's the last question I'm going to ask you,
Mm,
because time flies. I can't believe how the time is flying today. Orioles and Nationals
yeah,
are in a dispute
yeah,
over Masson, the sports TV channel, if people don't know who that is.
yeah.
And there's a possibility that this argument, this disagreement can be settled. The learners are trying to sell the team, but part of trying to sell it right now, nobody really wants it until this whole Masson thing is figured out. If they figure it out, and a guy named Ted Leonsis is interested in buying the Nationals, what do you think?
So the deal with Masson, which is like the regional network, is the Orioles control it. That was their, like, they got pacified by here, you get to control it when the Expos came down to become the Nationals, because we're going to like share this region. And so the Orioles want to keep all the money. This is an income stream. And the reason it's important for who's going to buy the team is they want to know, what are all the income streams? How much money is going to come in? A court in New York just said that the O's owe the Nats another $100 million in rights. Okay. But they still want the two teams to duke it out to figure it out. So Ted said, can I just buy Masson? Because that's how he's going to solve it, right? He bought like the NBC affiliate here, the sports network here. So why not also buy Masson? Because then he could just figure it out, because he owns it. But it's not for sale, apparently. But it's really important. I think Ted does a great job. I mean, he owns, the Mystics, the Wizards, the Capitals. He built that beautiful facility in Southeast for the Mystics that I went to for the first time a couple of weeks ago. He's all about Washington sports. I feel like he's got the right mindset. He can have a monopoly. I'm okay. I'm good with it. He's a proven owner. We've got some other owners to compare him to in this town that are not great. So he kind of comes out smelling like a rose. So I hope they can figure it out. The Nationals aren't selling for sure. They're selling probably. And he's like the number one guy. He's like the prime suspect for buying. And I'd like to see him do it.
Well, I would be selfish, but this is what I would like to see. The Angelos family may end up selling the Orioles.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to have Mr. Leonsis own the Orioles?
And the Nats?
No, just the just the Orioles. Just the Orioles. Just the Orioles. I'm orange and black all day long. You know that.
I know you are. I know you are. I kind of want to keep him in DC. I want to see a group come out of Baltimore. I want to see locals buy the team, because they're so about Baltimore, the community, all of that. I want to see people from Baltimore kind of figure it out.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to find out. Patti, this has been a fast-moving show. I don't know where the time has gone. I have absolutely positively enjoyed having you on, and you got to promise me. Will you come back? Will you come back?
Sure. This is a great time. I had a great time. I'd love to be asked. I'd love to be here.
Well, that is great. Ladies, gentlemen, simply one of the best. Patti Mallin. Patti, thank you for coming. Join us again next week for our next episode of the Daily Deuce. In the meantime, go enjoy some sports. Go watch some basketball. Go watch some baseball. Go watch a little bit of football if you can find it. But just go enjoy some sports. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.